My name is Fraser.
My name is Mark.
And we are the hosts of the geekiest show alive. To the outside world, we're ordinary geeks.
But in the Fab International Studios, we talk comics and find other geeks just like us. This is Geek of the Week.
Welcome back to Geek of the Week. We're on to the next section now, which is called Trade Off. Now, we didn't do this last week, but it's like a new little thing we've got going.
New section. Yes.
So each week, me and Mark are basically going to give each other a trade. This week, Mark's giving me a trade, and next week I'll give Mark a trade, and then it's going to keep going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and we'll just talk about the trade in question.
And the idea basically is we have pretty much polar opposite tastes when it comes to comics, and I do like superheroes, but I'm very much more into my horror or my sci-fi or you know, good stuff. And so we're gonna start. We're gonna start with my choice, and I gave Fraser Outcast, Volume 1 of Outcast.
As well as a few other ones.
Well, yeah, we've got like a massive pile of each other's comics at home now.
It's hilarious. It's just like, to be fair, it is. I was going to say, I get them confused, but it's very obvious because anything that's Image, I'm like, oh yeah, that clearly belongs to Mark.
For sure.
And then anything that's Marvel DC, you're probably just like, or recent, you'll be like,
yeah,
I don't recognise this character, that's probably Fraser's.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was Outcast, and you know what, I really dug this, which is why I took more volumes off you. Like the first one, definitely, it gave me like Sixth Sense vibes, just with like, you know, in that film, how like the doctor is sort of like, he's taking care of this new one because he failed in the past. It was sort of a very similar thing there, whereas like they were trying to save this young kid, and it was really cool actually. And the art style is that, again, great stuff that comes from Image. Like they were founded on art. Like that's what helped them run and sort of become, you know, the big head that they are right now, and why they were taking Marvel and DC by storm for a good while. And you know what, it was a good gateway into Image, I'll be honest, mate. And then you gave me many more, and I was like, okay, this is where the journey begins.
Exactly.
So
I'm glad you liked it, and I do feel like it's a good comic to start with, because it is pretty much it's a horror story. It is just a horror story. There's no superheroes or anything, but clearly it's supernatural. And
fitting for Halloween as well, coming up.
Well, there you go. It is quite Halloweeny, and it reminds me. It reminds me of The Exorcist, but I always found The Exorcist quite hokey, and I do not find this hokey. It's bleak as hell, and I just love horror like that, where it's about desperation. It's, for me, it's one of my favourite comic books.
At times reading it, I did need someone just to be like, can someone just be here just to make sure that I'm okay?
Did you need a hug?
I did. I needed a lot of hugs reading it. Like, I was into it, but even when it comes to films and stuff like that, I'm not very good with horror. You have forced me to watch the first two Chucky films, and it was not a fun time. So this was like, it wasn't too bad, because I think you're reading it and you can sort of stop yourself, whereas like when you're watching something, it's like, there's no escape. Whereas this, I was just sort of like, and the story sort of kept me going along. It wasn't, you know, forced on jump scares and stuff like that, because you can't really do that unless it's a pop-up book.
Now that would be a good thing.
Pop-up book version. But there is a TV show of this, so I would definitely check it out after reading this.
I mean, for me, I've never watched the Outcast TV show, because it's actually really difficult to watch legally in this country, and I'm a bit funny about that.
Yeah.
But I know Comics Compared is your thing, and I make no promises. But if I manage to get hold of the DVD or something, I'd quite like to have a go at Comics Compared. That'd be a good one,
because I was tempted to do it for the Halloween edition. I chose a different Image one, and I apologise to people who listen to Comics Compared and go, you know nothing about The Walking Dead. It's like, oh, sorry, mate. I can just see backlash. I'm a bit fearful. I should have got you to check over it as someone who's an Image head and like is a passionate. Are you a fan of the TV show?
I like the TV show, but I prefer the comics.
Yeah, so like I probably should have got you to check over it, or you to do it. But it was for Halloween. I was going to do the Outcast, but then that meant, like, again, like you say, trying to find the TV show and then doing all the research behind it, and yeah, it would have been difficult. Maybe next year, Halloween next year.
That gives me a year. All right, Halloween next year, I'll do Comics Compared of Outcast. There we go. It might be my first one as well.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure we can get you to do one before Halloween.
We'll see.
There's got to be something that you're like, oh yeah, I know this back and forth, like the back of my hand.
We'll see.
There's a scar on the left.
How do you know that? You've known me a while. Anyway, moving on.
I was actually talking about my hand, but if we've both got scars on the back of our left hand, that's pretty cool.
Well, there you go.
There we go. So listen to Geek of the Week. Be sure to tune in next week. Same geek time, same geek channel.
And if you want to follow us on social media, it's at GOTW Radio on Twitter. Search for Geek of the Week Radio Show on Facebook. And to listen again, it's www.mixcloud.com/Geek of the Week Radio Show.